Instagram Live. My name is Makita Waterman. I'm the CEO of Top Writing Services Incorporated. Today I wanted to talk to you about international marketing. This goes across the board for our e-commerce brands and companies. Whether you sell merchandise, you have a service, or you're just trying to expand. Hey, thanks for joining your target audience across the globe. I've worked with a number of different big organizations here in my city and even online. And many of them have head offices in different countries. But even just from somebody who started freelancing 7 years ago and started running my business full-time about 5-6 years ago, I know what it takes to attract a global audience with whatever it is that you're selling. Hold on, I'm just gonna, okay. Hopefully the lighting should be a bit better. Anyways, if it's not, we'll continue to keep going on. So the 5 things that I'm going to talk about today in this live stream are doing your cultural research, studying marketing ads in the countries of interest, following big brands and influencers that are located in those countries, hiring people from the countries of interest for your target audience, and translation or using translation, subtitles, or any kind of text or content to match the language of your target audience. So I'll go straight into it because I know your time is valuable. So cultural research. When I'm talking about cultural research, this is what I mean. So we're going to start off with colors. Did you know that in certain countries, North America, when we're talking about transportation, red usually means to stop, yellow is yield, and green is go. In other countries, red means different things. It can mean love, it can mean bloodshed. It can mean so many different things, as well as green. You know, green can mean prosperity in one country, and in another culture it can mean birth, like giving birth or renaissance, a fresh new start. So when you are doing ads for different countries, make sure that you're not using colors. Hey, thanks for joining, Jacob. That will not offend different groups of people. So let's take, for example, you're trying to target people in Panama, South America. You want to kind of start doing your research on colors, slogans, hand gestures, and pop culture in that country in Panama versus Canada and the US if you live here, because certain colors and slogans might offend certain people in Panama versus someone in Canada and the US. So I know a lot of Americans, most of the time they think, okay, I'm going to target, I don't know, Cubans or Asians or Africans or whatever the case may be, Americans. Something that we say here in Canada, like have you been to the store an American might not get that. And a certain hand gestures that we use here in Canada might be offensive to someone in Asia or someone in South America or Africa. So when you're doing your ads online, or if you're targeting different groups of peoples and different countries or cultures, make sure you, again, research colors, slogans, hand gestures, and pop culture in that specific city, in that specific age group. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but the more you know, the more your ads and your content will be for that audience. Number 2, studying marketing ads in different countries. So before the pandemic, I love traveling. So sometimes I go to Florida, and then I go to the Caribbean, and then I go to Eastern Canada. And I can sit here and say, just like everybody else, all of these countries have different marketing ads. A marketing ad in the Caribbean might seem cheesy or really weird if you were to use that marketing ad here in Canada or North America. And a marketing ad in Europe might be offensive to someone in Canada or in the US. Trust me when I say this. I literally did a TikTok video, I think it was last year, and shared it on Instagram, saying that these are the marketing ads in Europe. And if they played those ads here in Canada or in the US, people would be highly offended. So when you're thinking to target your audience, do a deep dive on YouTube. Put in, I don't know, for example, Tampa, Florida marketing ads or New York City marketing ads. It's going to be totally different. And anyone here is on the line that's in the baby boomer or the millennial group, we all know that when we would travel from like Toronto, even when I go to Montreal, and then I would travel to like the southern states like Georgia, and then go visit family in New York City, the Nike commercials were different. The McDonald's commercials were different. And they were specific to the neighborhood or the zip code. And that's exactly how you have to treat your online ads or your offline ads. Hey, thanks for joining. When you're trying to target an audience in a different country or a different culture. Study marketing ads. Other things that I would recommend too, other than doing a YouTube search on marketing ads in the country of interest, try to do a Instagram search for different hashtags and do a Google search on the top 10 countries, the top 10 businesses that are similar to yours in the country or the city of interest, and start looking at their social handles. Check out their YouTube channel. Take a look at how they advertise. And it may be totally different than what you're currently doing for a North American audience. So I always believe that the more research that you can do to fully understand that particular audience by really spending months, and sometimes people even take a year to just study a new country, because with the way of the world these days, people get highly offended over things, again, that in some cultures, it doesn't really make a big difference in theirs. And the most that you can do, your team or you as an entrepreneur, is to take your time when you're studying marketing ads, check out the music that's being used, whether they have 2-minute ads or 15-second ads. Are they using certain colors in their ads? Are they joking in their ads? Are they more serious in their ads for that specific country or cultural group? In the ads, are they witty? Are they funny? Are they political? Is it more, how can I say it, formal, or is it informal? And let's take, for example, because I used to live in Florida, they used to, oops, sorry, everybody. They used to talk about Spanglish. So in South Florida, they had obviously different groups of, hi, thanks for joining me. When I used to live in South Florida, they had different groups of Spanish people. They had the Cubans, the Dominicans, and stuff like that. And then when I got to know their culture, they would speak Spanglish, which is a mix of Spanish and English, or they would speak street Spanish, which is like street, kind of like urban Spanish. And then they had the formal Spanish, which is more like educated people. So you might think if you're targeting Montreal, for example, there are different Frenches there, right? You live in Ontario. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You have the African Francophones who are from Côte d'Ivoire and these kind of Frenches. Then you have the Haitians, and they might understand French, but they speak Creole, which is a breakup of French and another language. And then they have the Quebecois French. And then I'm sure in Quebec, they also have people who are from Paris, Parisian people, and then they speak a different French. So if you're going to translate the language, if you're going to hire translators or hire a translation company, just make sure that if that target audience speaks African French or Creole or Parisian French or Quebecois French, make sure that French is on point so you don't put out that advertisement and then you're not really reaching the Quebecois or the Francophones or the people that speak Creole. You totally miss the target on who you're reaching out to, because there's different type of languages. So when you're doing your translations, find out if there are different parts to the French or the English. And just like in English, there's regular English, there's informal English, there's Ebonics for the African Americans. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Number 3, follow big brands and influencers in your target audience. So I'm going to sit here and say I live in Canada right now, and I lived in the US for about 6.5 years. I will sit here and say that there are, you might follow influencers in New York City, but we all know there's different boroughs in New York. There's the Brooklyn, there's the Upper East Side, there's Hell's Kitchen, there's, you know what I mean? There's the people who live in Staten Island, and they all have a different accent, right? And I know this sounds so specific, but this is true. Like, there's a continent, just like Africa, there's a continent, and then there's different tribes, different languages, different mindsets. So you have to be specific when you're following these brands. So if you want to target, I don't know, let's say you want to target Toronto influencers and you want to target but what kind of audience are you trying to target? Are you trying to target the blue collar people that work in the offices, the high-end people, luxury, that are like lawyers and doctors and real estate owners and stuff like that? Or are you just trying to target the general masses of people in Toronto, which is, again, another group of mix of people? That could be Africans or Caribbeans, Asians, or people that were born in Canada, and then the first generation of that group of people. So cultural marketing, it sounds very, very difficult to do, but there's subgroups, there's smaller groups of people within a group of people. And that's where I think a lot of companies get wrong and they make mistakes. And then it's kind of like taking a risk if you make the wrong mistake. Another thing that you can do is follow big brands that those people that you're trying to target like. So let's take, for example, you can follow Nike, or you can follow Google. But with IO on the line, maybe you're trying to target, I don't know, let's say women between the age of 25 to 35. So then you can do an Instagram search or a TikTok search or a YouTube search and find out influencer, hair influencer, or braids influencer, and you'll get like a bunch of women and men, of course, that are going to come up in those searches. So take a look and see which influencers and brands you feel connected to and follow those brands. And I'm not saying to copy people, because sometimes people get sued for doing that, or they don't, but people can tell. But follow the big brands and the big influencers of the people that you want to target, and start leaving comments on their content on social media. If they have a local event, go out there, have your business cards. Of course, you're not there to sell at their sponsored event, but you're there to meet people. You might meet somebody who works at XYZ hair company in your city, and an employee really likes you. And the next thing you know, they're doing some online webinar and they invite you for free. You don't have to pay for a slot. And now you're speaking on their platform, and they have 20,000 audience members that follow them across the globe on all of their platforms. So you now just created a co-marketing opportunity just by following the brands and going to their in-person and online events and seeing how they do things and seeing how you can apply that to your business with your own signature and your own personality. Number 4, hire people from the countries that you want to target. So I think a lot of big companies generally know how to do this, but it's one of the best ways to avoid all this research, because you'll have these people in your marketing chats or in your product development or product marketing chats, and you're going to have conversations, of course, that are, picking their brain. So, hey, such and such, we'll say Ayo. Hey, Ayo, I know you're from Nigeria. We have this new product we want to market. Young women who live in Canada from Nigeria. Ayo, what do you think? What colors do you think we should use? Who's like the biggest Afrobeats artist right now? So now Ayo and your team that is from that country, they're now giving you all this information that maybe the team that's not from Nigeria or whatever the country is would make a mistake just by doing the wrong Google search. So if you can hire people from the countries of the people you want to target, maybe you can do like, in marketing, we call it a focus group. So what a focus group is maybe you find people online, or you put out an ad, you tell people we're looking to have a 1-hour session with people from this age group, with this culture, that speak this language, and we want to go over our products and services. Everyone's going to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that after this session, you give us feedback about this product, because we're trying to target your country or your people. They all sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that after the session, they're not going to leave the focus group and go out and tell your competitors. Legally, they're bound not to talk about what happened during the focus group, but they're going to give you feedback. No, I don't really think that product's going to look good on people in our country because this and that. Try using this color. Try using this fabric. Da-da-da-da-da. So that's another way. Hey, Party Paint, thanks for joining. That's another way. Hire people from the countries of the audience that you're trying to target. And number 5, translate to different languages. I find that I've been following some big marketing groups, and some people have an issue with this. Some people speak the language, like they are of the culture of the people they want to target. And for now, they're just targeting people in their country, like in Europe, in Canada, or Africa. But now they want to target specifically their people. So then they're confused. Should I start doing Instagram posts in English? Or should I do it in Yoruba? For Ayo on the line, or hopefully you're on the line, Ayo. And sometimes people get a little confused about this. So I would think that it's a good idea to use a translation company and translate your content if you already have a good number of people following you from the countries that you want to market your products to, or you're going to do a massive campaign that's going to target these people. Then, of course, do it in French, or do it in Yoruba, or do it in Spanish. But make sure that your paid ads are going to target people that speak those languages if the apps have that amount of technology for you to select that option. So that's it in a nutshell. Always open to answer questions, but I'll just do a review again. I talked about do your cultural research. Make sure that the colors that you use, red in our culture in Canada, might be offensive to another culture. Hand gestures, like a high five, I think in North America is okay, but in another country it's offensive. Slogans, check their pop culture. Number 2, study their marketing ads. You can do that on YouTube. You can, start following big brands or influencers or companies, bloggers and vloggers in that specific country. Even if those people live in Europe or North America, if they can speak that language, if they're from that country, even if they're first generation, you can still follow people in that specific, that come from that country, but they live in your town. Follow big brands, number 3, and influencers that have that culture or are of those race of people. And then every day just start taking mental notes, or start taking screenshots, so that when you have time to look at all of this stuff, you're like, okay, I'm getting to know these people. This is happening in their country. COVID-19 is big in this country. They're having political unrest in this country. So maybe we should hold off on doing marketing ads right now, because they're having issues with politicians, and there's lots of anarchy, and people are, out and about doing protests. So let's wait. So these are the things you want to check: the news in the country. Number 4, hire people from that country. And if you can't hire people, do a focus group. I forgot to mention, for the focus group, you can give them free food. In the focus group, you can give them free products, free services for an hour of their time to test your products and services and give you feedback as to whether they think it would work in their country or their culture or not. And number 5, ask yourself, should I translate this to these people's language? And when you're thinking about languages, like I said before, when I was living in South Florida, there was a big number of people that were Spanish speaking. But again, there are different dialects in Spanish. There's there's Spanglish, there's informal Spanish, there's formal Spanish, and then there's, the way the Puerto Ricans speak, the way the Dominicans speak, and so on, the way the Brazilians speak, that's more like Portuguese. And then when you're translating it, make sure that you know the specific language. I also made a reference to, if you're trying to target French-speaking people in Montreal or Quebec altogether, there's different dialects in French. There's the Haitian people, they speak Creole, which is like broken French and Creole. Then there's the Quebecois, and they speak a certain French. Then there's the Parisian people that come from France that live there, and their French is different. So just make sure that you have the dialect on point, so that you don't spend all this money on online ads and that language doesn't match the group of people that you're trying to target. So I really hope this helps. International marketing is going to get even better with more people that are anticipating spending more time online with the 4th wave of COVID and the new strain coming out. You should be thinking global, especially if you have a product or service that you can offer that you can do through a virtual chat, or you can mail the product or service, or maybe you work with Amazon and you can, ship it to Amazon warehouse and then they ship it. really think outside of your neighborhood now. Try to think outside of your country now, because if you want to pivot your business, if you want to grow, if you have bigger goals than what you're currently doing right now, it would be a good idea to start pivoting in the international global direction. And you never know what can happen with a repetitive action of doing that successfully. And here's the thing, I have a coach, and when he teaches me things, he says, you are going to make mistakes. Just because we talked about this today, it doesn't mean that you're not going to make a mistake. And so as long as you're not making big mistakes like racism or discrimination, or you have biases in your content, or anything that would clearly offend somebody and totally wipe out your business, you're going to make mistakes sometimes. And when you get that feedback in the comments and your DMs, maybe like I was saying about languages, maybe you're going to use a Quebecois language, but in fact, you should be targeting people who speak Creole, or people who speak Parisian French. So take those mistakes in, make a mental note, take those comments in, get that feedback in, and just make sure that you're sharp and on point for the next advertising post or video. So thank you so much for joining me today on this beautiful Friday. It is so gorgeous outside. Had an opportunity to spend 2 hours outside today, and I anticipate having a fun weekend. So thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my page, click the follow button. If you have any questions, recommendations, or suggestions, or even feedback on this topic, let me know in the comments below, or send me a message. And stay tuned for Instagram Live Friday next Friday. Take care.